Hey guys, this is Brian Mounts. I run turfmechanic.com. Today I'm coming to you with an oddball lawnmower comparison. These are both battery powered lawnmowers. This looks like a toy and this looks like a tank. It doesn't make any sense to compare these lawnmowers unless you've used them both in your own lawn. I own both of these. I purchased both of these with my own money. I've been using this for a couple months. I've been using this for about, 10 to 11 months. After I've been using these lawnmowers, this comparison makes sense. And if you're shopping for a battery-powered lawnmower, then I guarantee you that you're gonna find some value in this video. Now, this is gonna be a little bit of a polarizing video. There are an awful lot of people that absolutely love the Toro brand. And there are an awful lot of people out there that really just don't like battery-powered equipment. So for those of you who love Toro but hate batteries or think these little toys nobody should ever buy, just hear me out. All right, which lawnmower is better? I think it's fairly clear. This lawnmower is better, but that's not what this video is about. To summarize, you've got a bigger cutting path, obviously. It's heavier, so it's actually gonna sink down on the ground, not bounce around a little bit as you go. That's a pretty good thing too. The battery that came with this is a 6 amp hour battery. It lasts a little bit longer than this one, not much. We're talking about 5 minutes on average for me when I'm cutting. The mower blade is thicker. This is a 1/1300ths of an inch thick mower blade compared to an 800ths of an inch mower blade. You're gonna cut the grass almost in half the time with this than you are with this. Once you factor in the fact that the blade is smaller than the deck size and then you have to overlap your passes a little bit, each pass from this, you're really gonna be cutting off about 11 to 11.5 inches of grass every direction that you go. This one, you're gonna be doing about 20 inches in each direction after you account for those same overlaps and whatnot. So you're gonna cut the grass faster with this, but they're both gonna go for about the same amount of time. On average, this cuts for me for about 40 minutes. This cuts for me for about 45. Now I can go and idle them longer than that, but nobody just idles in their lawn. We cut the grass. So when we cut the grass, you get about 40 minutes here. 40 minutes is pretty good. So if you factor in the fact that this takes like twice as long, that's kind of like cutting the grass for this in 40 minutes is kind of like cutting the grass with this for like 20. We're rounding here. So if you can mow your lawn with a full-size lawnmower in 20 minutes or less, then this is going to be just fine. All right, so what about loudness? Loudness. This is something other people ask about. That's pretty similar. I took a decibel meter to it. This came in at 79 point something decibels. This came at 77 point something decibels. This is slightly quieter. Both of them are enormously quiet. The bag on this is small compared to the bag on this. But at the same time, you're not gonna be using this on a monster property. So you probably don't need a huge bag. If you really do need extended runtime, flip this over to the eco mode, and that's gonna take that blade speed down about 20 miles an hour or so. I'm running off of memory here. It's not that big of a difference, but you're gonna notice about 5 to 10 minutes of extra runtime when you put it on the eco mode. One last thought is this does not offer a side discharge, whereas this does. So if you actually want a side discharge, then this machine is not gonna work for you. I never side discharge. Although if I ran some grass types that I scalped down really low in the early spring, side discharge could come in handy. Both of these machines on the lowest setting go down to kind of in that 1 3/8 to 1.5 inch cut. This one is going to cut ever so slightly lower simply because it's a heavier machine and it's gonna sink down into the ground a little bit more than this one. Other than that, the battery system on this Toro runs a lot of high-end battery tools like snow blowers and string trimmers and leaf blowers and chainsaws and other sorts of things. So if you want a variety of lawn and garden battery powered equipment, the battery system on this is probably going to be a lot better than the battery system on the WORX. Having said that, I haven't used any of the other WORX power equipment at this time. This is literally the only WORX piece of equipment that I have ever owned or used. So if you've got any comments on that, please leave them down below so that others can benefit. Now the battery systems, you would think that this battery is better, and of course it's going to run a lot of better equipment as well. It's a bigger battery. This is a dual 20 volt, so you have two 20 volt batteries and they have to run together simultaneously, so it ends up being a 40 volt. They call it power share. Both batteries charge in about the same amount of time, a few hours. But what I like about this, what the overcompensation that this guy does is they give you a dedicated turbo speed. So you can put it on eco and turbo. The turbo speed spins that blade 3,700 RPMs. Now it's a smaller blade. If you do the math, the tip speed ends up being about 143 miles an hour. Now this, I don't know what the RPM is. My educated guess is around 3,000 RPM. Considering the width of the blade, the tip speed on this is just a shade over 190 miles an hour. So you're gonna get a better cut out of this than this. Both blades are easily removed, easy to sharpen. You get nice little like battery gauges on both of them. Everything about them is fine. Here's where I want you to pay attention. This is small. And that's the good thing. When I cut my lawn here, I used this quite a bit last year. And I harped on the whole personal pace system. And to summarize all of the videos that I made about this, I basically said that the personal pace self-propelled system on this is great if you have a large rectangle with no obstacles in it. Here on my lawn, I have a swing set, I have a slide, I have a jungle gym, I have curved turns, I have bushes, I have lots of different things and obstacles in my lawn. I don't ever just go straight and then turn around and go straight back. It never happens when I'm cutting the grass. This system is really annoying to use in my lawn. So when you turn the thing on, you just push it and it goes. But then when you have to turn, you have to kind of hold like the bottom bar. It becomes clunky when you're trying to go around obstacles or turning corners when you don't want to use this personal pace. You kind of have to hold two different things down and make sure that you're not pressing this in if you don't want to engage the personal pace. So here in my yard, I don't want to engage the personal pace all the time. In fact, rarely do I really want to. But this machine is fantastic. It's not self-propelled, but it's so light that I can do anything with it. I mean, manhandling this thing around is so incredibly easy. When I go underneath my swing set, I can literally stand to this side of it. I don't even have to stand behind it to go back and forth. It's incredibly easy to get into small spaces and to go around turns. If you're running a lawnmower on a small yard, this is simple to use. You actually don't need or want the self-propelled function because it's so light. Everything here combined, I mean, I got the bag, I got two batteries in here. Everything here combined is still not even 30 pounds. This is like rolling a bowling ball across the lawn. It's not that hard at all. Not only that, but this thing is surprisingly strong for its size. This thing is a tiny mower, but yet I can put it into really thick, overgrown, kind of weedy grass, and it just powers through it just fine. Now, it still has, like most lawnmowers, it's got this single point system. Toro's got their multi-point, so if you want to change the height setting, you got to manually do it on all four wheels, which is always a little bit annoying. There are some benefits to doing that. But what I've found over the past month since my grass greened up and started growing is I use this here in this main yard almost all the time This thing takes up such a small footprint in my garage that, especially when you fold it up, it's like barely there. It's incredibly easy to move out. I have a 9-year-old son who comes out and cuts the grass sometimes completely on his own. He asks me, "Hey Dad, can I go cut the grass?" This is a very easy machine for anyone to use. So if your situation is that it's hard to use big machines just because of like the physical force needed to do it, this thing is just crazy easy to use. The blade itself is sharp, it cuts fine. I've never bagged with it, simply because I rarely bag. I haven't gotten to the point where I've tried bagging with it, but it sucks up. One of the biggest things that I dislike about it is that when you take the bag off and you have the mulch plug in there, there's a pretty fair leak in there. So a lot of grass clippings will come through it. It's a flaw that's not very important, honestly, but it is a flaw in my opinion. But the fact of the matter is, this is not as good of a lawnmower as this. This is not even, I mean, this is more than half the prices, but I mean, you're still going to be spending like $200 or so less buying this than you are this. If I were to buy one again, only one, I would buy this one because my yard is small enough and this performs good enough. It will cut the grass perfectly fine for my preferences here in my yard, and I keep a really good yard. The weirdness of my yard is weird enough that this makes more sense to me. I cut the grass like every 2 to 3 days, so I don't ever really have to have enormous power. I only have about a 2,500 square foot flat yard section. I have some exterior parts of my yard that are on hills. For those areas, I do want self-propelled, but even those, I don't really use this all that much. Because it's so clunky with the up and down. This truly is great for those big rectangle yards. It just is. If you've got a small yard, let's say 3,000 square feet or less, maybe it's irregularly shaped, maybe you've got lots of obstacles in your yard, fire pits, jungle gyms, planter beds, whatever it is, you're gonna find that a small little lawnmower like this works great. I would not ever discourage anyone from getting one of these things. Now, last year I reviewed an Earthwise 40-volt lawnmower and I didn't like it at all. I thought it was really underpowered and the blade was flimsy and there was a lot of problems with it. So not every low end, I don't want to say low end, but not every 40-volt lawnmower is going to be bad. This one I am enormously happy with. So if you got any questions about this machine, go ahead and drop them in the comments down below. I've got another video that I'm going to link to. It's my initial impression of this machine, and it's got a lot of review material in it that was published in February. So back when I took it out on my field grass to kind of cut everything back before the spring season started, I used this machine. I'll link to it. Take a look at it. It's a pretty interesting video in my opinion. I'm very happy with this, and currently I'm using this more than any of the other lawnmowers that I have. I have 7 other high-end battery-powered lawnmowers in the garage, and this one is my go-to right now. Take a look at that. Thank you very much for watching. Hit the like button, and I will see you in another video down the road.